Euromaxx highlights coming up on the show. Final voyage, we bid farewell to the Alexander von Humboldt training ship. Role models, how human beings bring computer games to life. Family affair, the Skride sisters perform in concert here in Germany. Euromaxx highlights, and here's your host, Karen Helmstedt.
Greetings from Berlin and welcome to our highlights of the week, which included Catalan artist Jaume Plensa and his monumental works in marble, steel and alabaster. In parks and squares all over the world, his figurative sculptures have a unique way of engaging with the environment and, of course, with visitors. And despite their impressive size, they're always gently fascinating. So we took in his current solo exhibition at Yorkshire Sculpture Park in Britain.
This is Jaume Plensa's current solo exhibition in the Yorkshire Sculpture Park in Britain. The works are inspired by the human body, language, and literature. It's art you can touch. That's the trademark of Jaume Plensa, who lives and works in Barcelona. One of his sculptures has its permanent site nearby.
One of the great functions of the artist is to create beauty. This piece is a tribute to life, life in community. Each letter could be one of us, and together we're a whole. This is how we construct life, and this is the body.
In his studio, Plensa is working on his newest piece, an 8-meter-high figure made of steel letters. Plensa uses letters from different alphabets, and he arranges them by intuition. Using letters is central to his artistic work.
The letter as a cell full of memory seems useless, but when associated with other letters, we can form words and sentences, texts, context, culture. My whole oeuvre is based on the idea that it is possible for us to live together.
Plensa is a conceptual artist, and every one of his works makes a clear statement. He and his assistants work together to realize his ideas. The finished objects cost between 150,000 and 180,000 euros, depending on their size. He works primarily in marble, resin, bronze, and steel. The pieces are all inspired by girls' faces. For him, they stand for the future and the past at the same time.
You have to be able to caress them. There are things you can't see with your eyes, but only with your fingers. And a material like alabaster, or actually any material, has a tactile personality, doesn't it?
The sculpture Echo came to New York's Madison Square Park this spring. This is Plensa's installation Crown Fountain in Chicago from 2004. He designed a pavilion in Japan. And here's a sound installation in Dubai. 40 works by Plensa are permanently exhibited around the world. The intimate poses make his gigantic figures seem close. The grid structure helps them incorporate the landscape. The figures seem about to float in the air. Claire Liley is curator of the Yorkshire Sculpture Park.
Plensa speaks to people in a really incredible way. Although the work is often large, in fact sometimes monumental, it has a kind of a communication with people that I think is very, very rare.
Plensa's sculptures, like these bronze figures titled The Heart of the Trees, invite viewers to interact with them.
I thought it was beautiful, yeah, that everyone could get involved, and especially in the one where he's hugging his knees, and you sort of can go inside it, and it's quite a connection with the piece.
I really like them. I like how he used all the different letters, like, I don't know, bringing together all the different nationalities and stuff.
So I think it was the scale that impressed me, the fact that they're really, really quite large, and you can't help but notice them because they're just magnificent, really.
In the midst of wide-open spaces, Jaume Plensa creates intimacy with his monumental sculptures that delight people all over the world.
Well, she was built in 1906, Germany's tall ship Alexander von Humboldt, and for years now she's been a celebrity of the seas with her trademark green sails. Used as a sail training ship, she's now set for retirement due to rising maintenance costs. So before her successor, the Alexander von Humboldt II, is launched next year, old Alex made one final journey as part of a fleet of tall ships, and we caught up with her at the second last port of call in Stavanger, Norway.
A legendary ship on a goodbye tour. The world-famous Alexander von Humboldt is hanging up the sails after more than 100 years on the high seas. This is its final voyage. In Stavanger, on Norway's west coast, 50 of the world's most beautiful sailing ships are lined up in the port. They've come to take part in the Tall Ships Races regatta. More than 3,000 young sailors join the competition. Stavanger is the second-to-last port in the regatta. The Alexander von Humboldt is one of the oldest ships taking part, and it's the only one with a green hull and green sails, its trademark. Captain Mike Fosgerau has been on board for more than 12 years. He admits saying goodbye won't be easy.
We're all sad that this is Our Lady's last voyage, but we're happy and proud to have such a worthy farewell. We're taking part in this race that has so many international ships participating. We're traveling the North Sea. We went all the way to the Shetlands for the first time. It's really a fitting end.
50 crew members are on board for this historic final journey, including Lena and Gabriel. Both learned to sail on this training ship, like hundreds of young sailors before them. They took advantage of a school break to join the voyage. This is Lena's fourth time on board.
Life on board is really cool and nice. I don't know anyone who's on the ship and didn't want to go back. You always have that longing to get back on the Alex. We call it the green virus. Once you've caught it, you can't get rid of it.
Conditions on board, including small bunk beds under the deck, don't bother Lena. She spends most of her time up above, where the action is. At the main mast, the crew works on climbing the rigs. Gabriel has no fear of heights. He makes folding the sails 15 meters above deck look effortless. The journey was a gift for his 16th birthday. The ship is almost 90 years older than he is.
It has this unique charm to it. It has some rusty edges and special corners and its own quirks, but it's a one-of-a-kind. It's not a perfect ship, but it has real personality.
Back in 1906, the Alex was constructed as a light vessel, an anchored boat that acted as a beacon for ships. For nearly 80 years, it guided the way for vessels traveling on seas, rivers, and canals. In 1986, it was purchased by a foundation and turned into a sailing vessel. Christened the Alexander von Humboldt, the old ship got a new start. Since then, it's crossed the Atlantic 6 times. The highlight is always the Tall Ships Races, a regatta with several stages, each one lasting 4 days. A chef cooks up a storm for the young crew. During lunch, Captain Mike Fosgerau gets a special message from the regatta organizers.
Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Listen up, people. It has been confirmed in London. Here's the final count. We're number 1.
The Alexander von Humboldt was the fastest ship in its class on the stretch between the Shetlands in Scotland and Stavanger in Norway. The Tall Ships Races serves as a last chance for young sailors from around the world to get to know each other. Each port hosts an extensive program of activities. Some 80,000 visitors have gathered in Stavanger to celebrate. 2 days later, it's time to leave. Today, the journey takes the sailors southwest towards the Swedish port city of Halmstad. Ready, set, go. The ship sets sail on the open water, leaving Norway behind.
I have great memories from the last 25 years of all the amazing sailing moments on this ship. We're excited to carry on that tradition on a new ship.
And with that, the Alexander von Humboldt sails its last lap after 100 years of service before it becomes a floating museum.
Well, how many of you remember the first computer games back in the 1980s when people spent hours playing things like Pac-Man or Tetris? Games that seem very simple today, but that have also achieved a certain cult status. Well, Swiss artist Guillaume Lemay liked the idea of bringing those games back to life, quite literally in an active form that he calls mass animation. And here's how that goes.
It's Tetris, but not as we know it. In this interpretation of the cult computer game, people are the game blocks. They're shot frame by frame to create animated action. This video has now been viewed over 13 million times on the internet and has made this man famous around the world. Guillaume Lemay from Switzerland originally wanted to be an architect, but ended up working in graphic design and eventually video art.
Pour moi, c'était quelque chose de plus un travail personnel, artistique.
It was basically a personal project. I thought a museum or a gallery might like it. The first video I put online was really only meant for the people involved and their families. I never imagined it would get so many clicks. Suddenly, I was getting phone calls from New York in the middle of the night, people asking how I did it.
The idea was simple. Volunteers wearing different colored T-shirts sitting in specific seats in a movie theater, with each color group representing a game block. The screen serves as a mirror. The participants individually then decide where to move to. The result is a truly interactive game. Everyone involved is a Tetris fan, of course. The Tetris project was conceived 3 years ago, but the principle behind Guillaume Lemay's work remains the same. The focus of his latest project is a cardboard box that he takes a photo of every day in order to illustrate time and deterioration. He then cuts the series of pictures together.
It's the same principle of animation. You show one picture after the next, 10 images per second, or 12 or 24. The result is a moving film.
And there's always a playful theme. He's also created a video inspired by Pac-Man and compiled an entire series of human performance arcade game remakes called Game Over. Contrary to what many assume, the video artist himself doesn't like computer games. So are his projects actually a criticism?
You could see it that way. A criticism of modern computer games that use complicated 3D techniques to replicate reality. It's funny to create the opposite, to use reality and real people to create simple computer animations.
It's a similar situation with the Transformers figures, which change from vehicles into robots. And Guillaume Lemay's take? He had trucks driving in formation to create a gigantic robot. Guillaume Lemay has now produced more than a dozen of these films, and his reputation is growing. His Human Pictos project was exhibited at the Pompidou Center. And earlier this year, he was invited to the Lucerne Dance Festival. He directed 100 dancers to form the message, "Let's dance."
There are always surprises. Everyone chooses their own way to their position.
His latest project also has surprises in store, but it's bound to involve more than just one simple cardboard box.
Latvian violinist Baiba Skride enjoys resounding success all over Europe, and it so happens that her two sisters, Lauma and Linda, are also professional musicians playing the piano and the viola, respectively. Well, when the three of them get together, it's a real treat for audiences, and our reporter scored one such occasion at the Hitzacker Summer Music Festival in Lower Saxony. That's Germany's oldest festival for chamber music.
The Skride sisters playing Brahms' Piano Quartet in G minor together with cellist Julian Steckel. About 650 visitors to the Summer Music Festival in Hitzacker in northern Germany had the rare pleasure of seeing all three sisters on the same stage.
Our parents are musicians themselves. Dad used to be a choir director and Mum's a pianist. Music is a part of our daily lives. It's just a normal thing.
I can still remember going to sleep as a child with the sound of my mother rehearsing Chopin every evening. That remains in my memory. There was always music at home.
Mother Liga, herself a successful pianist, is present at the rehearsals for the concert. She used to play regularly with her daughters. Instead of forcing them to practice, she showed them how to love music, a love that has garnered them international success.
It's not the "look how great my kids turned out" type of pride. I'm just grateful that they turned out that way. I'm really happy that we have them and that things worked out so well.
The Skride sisters, Linda, Baiba and Lauma, have enjoyed success all across Latvia since they were children. Now they live in Germany and Sweden. They don't visit their hometown Riga very often these days, but they have fond memories of the Latvian love of music.
Yes, it's a great tradition, especially choral singing. I think almost every Latvian sings in some kind of choir.
It's really funny. For example, when there's an important sports event or something else happening in Riga, especially in summer when people gather outside in cafes, everyone sings. That's how it is.
The Skride sisters have been performing most of their lives, for 25 years now. They've given concerts around the world. Not surprising they don't get to spend much time together these days.
I usually phone the agency and ask where my sister is. I don't have your schedule. Do you have mine?
No. No. When we're not playing together, we often lose contact for a couple of weeks. Sometimes I find out where Lauma is from some website.
The sisters particularly enjoy their rare concerts as a trio, as do their audiences.
Well, finally, the term in English for it is a brogue, but in German it's known as a Budapester, a low-heeled shoe in leather that's characterized by its multiple-piece structure with decorative perforations. Now, it's a style that really caught on in Budapest in the early part of the last century, and it helped seal that city's reputation as a centre of quality shoemaking. And that's an image that many young designers are busy reviving today.
Fresh, feminine, and handcrafted. The Budapest shoemaking scene is creating new trends, but it's also honoring its own traditions. Dozens of shoe designers are shaping the city's stylish new image, thanks to a winning combination of traditional handiwork and modern design. And in recent years, they've been seeing a surge in sales.
I think we are on a good way to change the mind of Hungarian customers. So sometimes they choose us. So we have boutiques and shops here selling Hungarian brands. We have a hype around Hungarian brands. So I think it's going to change.
Reka Vago creates elegant women's shoes geared towards the latest ready-to-wear collections. As a former dancer, she aims to make shoes that are both striking and comfortable. That's especially important for her high-heeled creations, which can be up to 10 centimeters tall. Her designs are displayed in showrooms alongside styles by other fashion designers. Her creations cost up to 350 euros, and they're made in Hungary. Reka Vago studied shoe design in London, but decided to return to Budapest after graduation.
It's comfortable, it's easier, and it's faster. Also, I don't have to mention that I have good people here, so I don't have to look for other person to produce my shoes.
Laszlo Vas also produces high-quality shoes, but his styles are for men. He founded a shop in 1978. Instead of following the latest trends, he puts more emphasis on traditional shoemaking techniques. He caters to a high-profile business clientele from around the world, who pay between 400 and 1,500 euros per pair. It takes 4 weeks for Laszlo Vas to finish a pair of shoes. His designs are made from fine materials like high-quality calf leather. This popular variety is durable enough to withstand more than a decade of wear. His workshop produces 2,500 pairs of shoes a year, and 800 of those are sold abroad.
We work with a shoemaking technique that is hundreds of years old, though our models are brand new designs. Shoes from Budapest are experiencing an international renaissance due to work like ours. More and more shoemakers are following our lead.
These traditional shoemaking techniques were developed in Budapest about 350 years ago. The city's shoe trade reached the height of its popularity in the 1920s. Budapest became synonymous worldwide with a style of shoe that featured a punched-hole design. The model was said to have originated in Scotland, where people working in moors would punch holes in the toes of their shoes to allow water to flow out of them easily. 100 years ago, the shoemaking trade was flourishing on Veseleni Street. But the tradition vanished during the Cold War. 26-year-old Anna Zabueva moved here from Russia last year. She employs local shoemakers in her shop, Siberia.
We show them how to put it in modern way, so that here is the combination of modern design and very eye-catchy style, but it's still handcrafted and classy shoes.
With her flashy choice of colors, Anna Zabueva's designs attract a young clientele. Her models for women and men can be made to order in various sizes, leathers, and models at a maximum price of 150 euros. Some of her styles are one of a kind, since they're made from recycled materials.
For instance, like these bird shoes, it was a table cover, and it's a 40 years old piece of cloth, and it's a silk screen with more than 7 colors, which is pretty good effort and big work of designers and all the production, and somebody throw it away. So we preserve it in such a beautiful way. It's shoes which I really love. I mean, somehow it's very hard for me to sell it even.
The Hungarian capital features a range of different shoe designs, but all shoemakers here have one thing in common: a passion for quality and handcrafted traditions.
Well, don't forget you can find our Euromaxx highlights on our website. And with that, it is time for us to sign off. So until we meet again, best wishes from all of us here in the studio in Berlin. And tschüss and auf Wiedersehen.